Sir. Let me first introduce Dr. Rosmi Roy. The author, Dr. Rosmi Roy, is a gold medalist from La Martiniere for girls. She did a doctorate in English from the University of Calcutta in 2004 and has taught English in various schools and colleges and business communication in management institutes. She is now the director of aptitudes and skills training, which imparts training in soft skills and personality development. Her association with theatre goes back a long way. While teaching in Garden City College, Bangalore, she started the theatre group Thespians for the students. She has written and directed plays for colleges and organizations she has been associated with, including conceptualizing and directing the play Shakespeareana for the Calcutta Club members. Her published work include Sisterhood of Women, based on a study of feminine consciousness, the motivational book Climbing the Beanstalk, It's Up to You to Reach the Top, and the current book of short stories, Tales She Can Tell. Now I shall introduce Mr. Tathagata Chaudhary, the founder of Theatician, with the BBC 4 in 2007, declared as the most prolific youth theatre company in the country. In 2006, Tathagata, as is addressed by his friends and in the theatre community, represented in India in a theatre science project in Plymouth and London. In 2014, he represented the country in South Asian Theatre Festival in Ohio with the award-winning production The Mumbai Zoo. He has produced around 200 plays in the last couple of decades since the inception of Theatician and has been in stage as an actor nearly 1,000 times across the country. The 40-year-old was the first in Calcutta to teach theatre studies, which the CBSC board introduced in 2014. He is now the head of Department of Film Studies in Pathways World School, Aravali. During the pandemic in 2020, Tathagata and his team at Theatician was one of the first, as reported in the Times of India, to perform online plays and post-lockdown at the Akshara Theatre last November. Live performances in theatre revived with the directorial ventures. He has been the recipient of Best Actor and Best Script awards at Kala Kranti theatre festivals. Over to Tathagata.
Thank you so much, sir. It's really indeed a pleasure for me and also a proud privilege that I'm getting a chance to be in conversation with Roshmidi here. And we will definitely get to know about from her a lot about storytelling therapy. We'll also be discussing with the author present here this evening about some of her works, the characters that she chooses, how she drafts these characters, what she keeps in mind when she kind of drafts these characters. And I am sure, like all of us, will have something to gain this evening. And most importantly, what will be important for us, I think that we need to know that what is the purpose, what is the reason why Roshmidi is so passionate about storytelling as a therapy. So over to Roshmidi. Roshmidi, we would really like to know how you um, talk about therapy, especially in today's times, during the pandemic times, and some way or the other, we are all kind of in discussion about therapy, and how you relate storytelling with therapy is something that we are really very keen on knowing.
Yes, thank you, TC. So,
Without any further ado, over to you, Roshmidi.
So the purpose of writing the book was during the pandemic, the second wave started, fears of an impending mental health crisis because of all the long periods of lockdown and the trauma people had gone through, the pain of losing loved ones. some people lost their jobs and how they face difficulties. So all that stress was coming out in different ways, and some people had mental health issues. So the way to relieve your stress, to avoid letting it get to the stage when you have outbursts and start um, taking it out on your family members, is to share your story. Now, share your story means unburdening yourself to some sympathetic listener who um, is non-judgmental, who listens, and it gives you a sort of a freedom. It makes you feel lighter. Your heart feels lighter to unburden yourself and to tell what you have been through, and everything that you faced and how you overcame your difficulties. It makes you feel stronger after having said. So I thought this is a good time to introduce a therapy which is not given so much importance, such as drama therapy, art therapy, music therapy. These are all creative arts. They are expressive arts, but storytelling has not been given that much importance, but it is a very valued addition to the new age psychotherapy. New age psychotherapy has come in from the late 20th centuries, where these various forms of therapy are used. Maybe medical practitioners would not support them, but they are very beneficial, because you don't need to go in for medication, and you're not going for sessions where like people feel a little they're unwilling to go because it's a stigma attached. They
There
feel
is
that
still some hesitation.
yes,
Yes.
that people might think I have some mental illness. It's not exactly mental illness. You just want to relieve yourself of your stress, of your pain, and something that you have gone through.
I
So
agree with you. In fact, unfortunately, in our country, there is still this little bit of apprehension, some sort of hesitation in seeking help. But I'd like to share one thing, Roshmiti. Right now, I can't help but thinking that, when it comes to drama therapy, since you mentioned drama therapy, it is still a specialized area. It is still a specialized science where no drama practitioner or a theater practitioner, without knowledge, without the art of therapy, without some sort of a specialized knowledge in therapy, will easily get into. Or rather, it is even advised, just because you are a theater practitioner is not it can't be taken for granted that you will also be very good with therapy using theater. Similarly, in storytelling, do you think that anyone who kind of can write stories is in a position or some sort of an authority to actually, like impart therapy?
no, it is not imparting therapy, as you put it. What I said was, if I share my story, I can talk to a friend. I don't have to go to a therapist. I can share and unburden myself, and that's this relieving of your stress. Okay, this is what helps you not to let it build up inside. And that's what I said, this is much better than going in for actual psychiatric help, because you're not mentally ill that way. You have suffered a trauma or something which has disturbed you, and you need to unburden yourself.
I think you're
You need
mentioning that.
someone to listen. So storytelling, of course, it can be through words, and it can, in my case, it is telling through, I'm writing the stories. I'm writing stories of women. I have focused on women because many people find that it's difficult to express what they want to say. And in this case, women are the most, those who are unable for many reasons. Perhaps it's their own family members who are causing the pain, and they can't, come out and express to others. Like can't go to a social gathering and say, this is the trauma I'm going through, is it?
I
You
think
can't
what
do
you're
that.
also mentioning is that we need some sort of a soundboard. And, like maybe sometimes once we have someone to listen what we would like to share, and we can take that person in confidence, then even when we are sharing this, once we are reflecting our thoughts, maybe on paper or in words, then that itself becomes a process. After that is over, then maybe we find ourselves a little lighter. But this is still a very sensitive area, I feel. And where I'm concerned, I do think that, when you mentioned psychiatrist and if you are drawing a comparison, then there again, I think that one needs to be a little careful.
No,
One needs to be a
you
little
didn't get
responsible.
me.
Yes,
I'm avoiding the comparison with psychiatrists.
okay.
I'm trying to say what I am advocating is not going to a medical practitioner, because as I have illustrated in one of my stories, I can read you that, but medication also has bad after effects. Okay, so something
True.
that we can, through storytelling, what happens, you see yourself, you tell the story, and it is, you become the observer. When you're living through it, maybe you do not notice some of the things that, some of your behavior also, maybe the way you could have changed, you could have done things differently. So when you become an observer and observe what happens, you come out with remedies yourself, or resolution yourself, because you will find a better way out of it. There's also something called life story repair, where you can repair your own life story. Like the story is being, let's say, okay, you don't want to take drama therapy, so I won't say enacted, we'll say being told. So in that case, you identify with a certain character, the character who represents you, and you find the way the person behaves. By observing, you come out with insights, and maybe you come out with different ways in which you could have reacted. It shows a path that to you, that okay, in the future maybe I should behave in this way, and that this could have happened in a different manner. You can lead it to a better ending, because the realization comes to you. So it's a way of changing yourself also. The whole thing came
I'm
up
sure,
from,
we would.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure we would really like to know that, when you think about these characters in your stories, especially the latest book that you have come up with, how do you think of the characters? Do you borrow from your real life experiences? Are they imagined characters? I'm sure we would like to be very interested in knowing that from the author herself.
Yes, some of them definitely are taken from life experiences, because, every author uses his or her own experiences to create characters. But let me tell you, two of these stories, they were told to me verbatim on the phone. And because during the pandemic, we're in different cities, and one person is in a different continent. So it is something related to me over the phone. They're real life stories, some of them. Some characters I have
Roshni, I can't
because
help
I wanted
think
to.
right now.
Yes.
So sorry for interrupting. I really can't help but think right now that once your friends do confide in you, then after that, if you are kind of making use of their experiences in your stories, and if they read them, do they remain friends after that?
No, it's not that those who don't want their names revealed, we become a team. We think up names for, okay, what shall we call the husband? What will the sister-in-law be called? We create different names. We even create different hometowns. We think up how to change it. So people won't recognize. If they don't want to reveal their own name, then we don't do that. It's not, revealing somebody else's story. It's only if somebody wants to relate something. Okay.
This is
and
something
maybe you don't get this. Maybe you don't get this. It's a very, what can I say? The experience of getting it off your chest. Maybe you yourself haven't had many experiences in life which were, like traumatic, or
I'll tell you about my experiences.
So maybe you don't need this kind of thing, but I definitely do. I definitely do.
See, I
think it is very important to be able to unburden yourself, you know.
Why I brought this up is because sometimes,
Yes.
I have my friends in the audience, and when they see the characters that I have envisaged, that, like the characters that I have written, and they kind of get to hear the dialogues exchange between them, whatever their emotions are. And after that, I just feel that then when we have the conversation, they are not that friendly anymore. So that is why the thought just came to me, and then I kind of, I expressed that.
Okay, they think they borrowed from, like you borrowed from their
I think,
situation.
yeah, because I think it's also quite
Hmm.
a pragmatic situation, like, I mean, where will a writer borrow from? It is, after all, from experience, also from real life incidents, from situations. So I think, I don't know, maybe it's not very right for me to think that a writer might just exercise that creative liberty. But I think people that we come across, they definitely add on to our experiences, which get reflected in our stories. Moving on, Roshmeti, will you please tell us about this movement that you're wanting to advocate?
Yes,
There is, yes.
it's I want women to share their stories with me, so I want to call it hashtag telling my story. Okay, this is the movement. It's totally different from the movement that you've all come upon recently, like the Me Too and other, which are concerned with court cases and getting compensation from people and um, blaming people who have done things to you. This is not like that at all. And in this context, I want to, by the way, maybe the audience doesn't know, Tathagata has written the foreword to my book, and I'm going to read just 2 or 3 lines from the foreword just to explain what I'm trying to say. He has said it himself. The joy of indulging in celebration of womanhood while avoiding the cliched plague of forced feminism is rare. The protagonists don't ever plead to be accepted or appreciated. In the stories, we are acquainted with new age protagonists who are conscious of human limitations and pursue earthly motives rather than lofty goals. So these women are not feminists. Some people tag anyone, they're not fighting for any rights. They're not asking for any compensation from anyone for anything that has happened in the past. Things have happened in the past, yes, but we are not trying to extract anything from anyone. We're just, we just want to be free to express ourselves. And they are my characters are very ordinary. They're ordinary human beings, and it's a record of day-to-day human lives. No fantasy, no going to space. No, nothing that is out of the ordinary. It's a very everyday experience, and it's what we live through. And some of the characters which I have chosen is to show maybe or to tell, give a lesson. For instance, the date, which in which this girl, gets into the situation where she has gone out with someone that she doesn't know very well. This is for young girls I see going out nowadays without knowing the person very well, and getting into all sorts of situations. Now they forget that there can be wolves in sheep's clothing, and they have to safeguard themselves. So so some stories have lessons also to teach, and some are just, like I said, in the first person, and they are records of what they have done in their lives.
Roshmeti, I must thank you for actually considering me to write the forward. It was quite a unique experience for me, and I'm thankful to you for that. What I have noticed is that when you are writing, you have been very flexible in your writing, and you have been able to empathize with a generation not being confined to any particular age. So, how do you have this flexibility? How do you have this flair? Is it something that, like, again, something that is borrowed, in which case it means that you have constant interaction with women, especially across all generations? Or is it like, again, something that you are kind of imagining their situation? This is something that has been very intriguing for me, and I just wanted to kind of ask you this.
I've lived through all these stages. At one time, I was also young, right? I know what young girls go through. So and now I've reached the older, very senior citizen stage where, I can, if both extremes, I can talk about any stage in life because I've lived through all.
Tell me
I
something,
have a lot of,
Roshanti. Sorry,
yes,
I'm
from
just
my,
interrupting. Yeah, sorry about
yes,
this,
from
Roshanti.
my own very own experiences, I have a lot to tell also. No, not that it has to be fed to me by others, but in some cases, like I said, they have told me their stories and I've just reproduced it verbatim. I haven't changed anything.
Roshmiti, from the time,
Yes.
like when you were in your, let's say, impressionable years, compared to what young girls are, or rather young women are, or why just women? Why do we need to make it gender specific? Anybody is exposed to these days with the kind of information that is easily available. Do you think that there is still some existing similarities? There is some sort of existing parallel that we can draw? Or do you feel that there is an absolute difference in the attitude, in the way that now we have people conducting themselves in the manner, the way that they are reciprocating to the exposure?
I think somewhat it depends on upbringing and the family, kind of family background you belong to. Like some lifestyles that I see and what young people are doing and they have the freedom to do. In our time, it was not, when we were young, it was not even imaginable. We wouldn't even dream of doing such things. So it's a change in the times and change in, the way you're brought up, and depends on family values also a lot.
We will really welcome, like any questions, anything that you would like to ask, anything that you might be intrigued by, and you would like to question Roshmiri about her works. Please feel free. I think we already have a question from the audience. So the gentleman says that in your book you have changed around the names depending on whether they are your own experiences or someone else shared with you. So, I mean, yes, would you please take that?
Yes, like I said, if someone doesn't want to reveal her identity, then we change the names. We talk over it and we say, okay, then we'll change this name to, and even the venues and the hometown and where it's taking place, we try to camouflage it so that, they don't want it to be revealed that it's their story. But in some cases, like my friend, if you've read this story called An Indomitable Spirit, it is about my friend who's very much there and who's very much, in touch with me, and I know so much. I mean, it's my first hand experience of what I've seen about her life also and what she has told me. So there was no camouflage over there. Everything is as it was, represented as it was.
How much of a judgment do you think an author imposes? Because sometimes you might be tempted to write from a space which has some sort of preconceived notion, and that is only human. Then, after writing few drafts, do you want to give it more of a neutral perspective? Or is it that you kind of write with a particular notion and that is the direction that you're following? And then you see that how the characters are evolving without giving them any kind of shift of direction, going by your own expectation of the characters.
I totally go by my own expectation and what I have planned out for the character. And yes, and there's no judgment in it. As I said,
quite a strong and interesting statement to make, of course.
Yes, it's a pure, record of facts, and like I said, it's just everyday lives. It's nothing imagined, nothing. It's just things that happen as they take place.
Do you have any specific, like age group in mind when you're writing that you want to cater to? Do you have any defined audience? This is again a question that has come to us. Do you have any kind of a defined audience when you're writing?
Yes. So now, since this is going out to, regarding my campaign of hashtag telling my story, it won't be very young girls. And I have chosen women because I have worked on, even my PhD thesis was on women's consciousness. So I'm interested in this topic and I've been working on it. ever since. So that's why I've chosen women and their lives. So it won't be very young girls. It will be those who have maturity enough. They have been through certain experiences. That is what they want to share, right?
We have
So,
a question for you. This is from Ritika. She says that, so what makes the stories different from experiences? Or are they just experiences with names changed? I'll just repeat that for you.
no. Yeah, different from experiences. Stories are experiences. We tell our experiences and they become stories. Stories are experiences. What else do you want in stories? I don't write fantasy. I don't believe in it.
Maybe
They are
you
true, absolute true day-to-day facts, which is what our lives consist of.
We'll just take a slight break from this stream of thoughts, and I'd like to kind of also talk about you as the actor. I have had the good fortune of also sharing the stage space with you. As an actor, you are kind of like confined by the script given to you. You're doing what the director is asking you to do. As a writer, here it is like almost tables turned. You are expecting characters to do what you want them to do. So sometimes when you're acting, do you also think from the perspective of the writer? And when you are writing, do you think from the perspective of the actor?
No, as an actor, like you said, you have to do, first of all, you're bound by what the playwright wanted. And secondly, you have to be under the control of the director. Some directors are very strict and they don't give you leeway also. I don't know. You are a director yourself. I don't know how you function. But by the way, since we're talking about acting, I must say that you've done something which I wasn't able to do, and which is why I admire you a lot, is your mono acting, your solo performances, which I have seen, and I was not able to do it. So I didn't have the guts to try it out. So that's why I say I admire you.
No,
for
I think
having
when
done
it comes
that.
to guts, the kind of work that you're doing and kind of wanting to advocate the movement that you are wanting to, I think that takes a lot more guts. At my end, I guess I've just been very fortunate. There have been opportunities and which I wanted to seize, I wanted to grab. I've had the good fortune of interacting, of coming across people who have been very encouraging. At the same time, you know for a fact how demanding this whole experience has been.
Distributing financial markets. So LIC is what it is.
Udipta, I think you need to be on the mute.
Zoom session. You can contact later. Yeah, thanks.
Udipta, you need to mute yourself. Sorry.
Okay. No, this thing about guts. What's happening? What's happening?
It's just technology.
Okay, which I don't understand anything about. Yes. No, I think what you have done is great, because in, the innovative theater that you have produced. And oh yes, in this context, I want to ask you, out of my stories, which you have read, was there any material you think might be dramatized into a one-act play and you could produce on your, right now on your online platform?
So I'll tell you what I really feel. Since you're mentioning online platform, almost all your stories, they have the potential not just to be dramatized, but they also have a potential of having inviting cinematic treatment.
Right.
So because you're mentioning online platform, therefore I'll tell you that of course there is that scope, there is a potential, and I would like to work with some of the stories with your permission. However, if you did not specify online platform, and if this was on the proscenium stage, then I would like to tell you that because of the cinematic treatment that these individual stories invite, in my very humble opinion, I would say that I feel that they are not script-wise the kind of material that I would like to work with as a director for the proscenium stage.
But right now I'm ruling that out because we are not into that thing yet. We haven't started stage performances yet. So right now what you can do is online, but the cinematic, it's a great thought, if I could do videos, you could have a small short film or something on one of them.
No, no, very much. In fact, all your stories, they are short film material. And because you see, what happens is that there is certain fluidity in the story flow, in the storytelling. It is not rigid. And which is why I feel that, like that gives that flexibility to be captured on the lens. And that kind of storytelling demands a certain cinematic treatment. So I do feel that when it comes to making short films, and as I said, if it's like an online presentation, because you see, online, there is still this filter, there is a screen, even if it is live. I've been doing a lot of live theater online, but even if it is live, there is still a filter, there is still a screen, which demarks, which creates some sort of a demarcation between the audience and the performers, the actors. But when it comes to live theater, something that is going live on the proscenium stage or even in a studio theater setup, even in intimate theater, that grammar is different. So this is a certain kind of grammar that we need to pay attention. Rushmiti, at any point of time, if you are not able to hear me, if I'm not audible, just give me like just some sort of a sign, just a thumbs up or something. And if I am audible, then that's fine.
No, it's fine. Okay. So
we would really like to field more questions. So I would like this to now
audience questions. Yes.
Be
If
a
anybody
bit more
from the
interactive.
audience
We have
wants a question.
Yes. We have a gentleman who has mentioned that we miss you here in Bangalore theater. This is by Mr. Gopalakrishna, who has said that we miss you here in Bangalore theater on a person, but now how about you staging a play out of the short stories? So the same thing that we have been discussing, like how do you
Yes,
think?
yes,
In fact,
it's
I'll
difficult.
I'll be coming to that, I would really like to touch on that, like how the journey of a story becomes a script, and then a script becomes a screenplay. And then the gentleman says that can your stories be taken on stage? So that's what we are discussing, sir. How are you associating with any groups in Mumbai? So yeah, I would like to know that. Are you kind of acting with any theater group in Bombay right now?
In Bangalore, this was where I had met him, was the Bangalore Little Theatre.
Right.
Which was during the pandemic, we had online, we had play readings. We used to go meet every month for a play reading at the Alliance Française. And it was great because there was no memorizing of scripts. One of the reasons I didn't have the guts to go in for this mono acting is because I always thought I'll forget my lines and I'm the only person there, and what will happen?
Roshni, along with receding hairline, even my memory is receding. Because of my, like my condition with memory, I have never been able to memorize anything in life. I don't get a chance to act in my own plays. You think when Dhruv is directing a play, he'll ever give me a chance to act? And at the most, maybe like what he last told himself is he's going to give himself a challenge. So all the key roles, they go to Debushi Borat, who is again, Calcutta Club members will definitely know him as an actor. But when it comes to Dhruv Mukherjee, he's very, very skeptical about giving me any key part. Rather, he'll create characters with one word, maybe at the max 3-word sentence, and then he will expect a certain kind of performance from me. So
but that's great if you have a friend who creates a part for you with minimum number of words. Okay. Anyway, getting back to our storytelling. This has been the storytelling therapy, although I said it was not being given pride of place, but it has been for generations from ancient days. We have had this storytelling as healing in many cultures. And it was accepted, and storytelling has come to us through generations. Like there's legends and epics and folklore, and there's things that our grandparents relate to us. It's a way of traditions being passed down through the ages. And in the ancient days, it was also used as a teaching method. For instance, Jesus Christ would teach through his parables, by telling stories. Stories has many uses. And right now, if we say that therapy, it's called new age psychotherapy, includes a storytelling, then it would be a very much simpler matter and non-stigmatizing matter. Why I'm saying this is a better method to choose, because you're not tainted as being a mentally ill person. People even don't go to counselors. Even drug addicts and people who suffer from depression, they don't want to go to counselors, because they think there's a stigma attached to it. But in telling your story, there's nothing, you're not being tagged as somebody who's ill or who has a disease. No, you're just a person who wants to tell what is inside you. Sometimes things are repressed and you're not able to express what you have, and maybe circumstances prevented you from expressing. But when you do, like I'm telling you from personal experience, it makes you feel much, much lighter. So it is a therapy that way. Not as in psychotherapy, not as in going to a psychiatrist, not as in getting medication. I just want to tell you about the medication, which I've written in this story. It's called The Labyrinth of Her Mind, which is about a woman slowly, gradually going into, her condition is getting worse, although she has a very loving husband who is taking care of her and who takes her for treatment also. So this is right after she has visited a doctor, and I didn't mind going to the doctor, but the medicines she has prescribed are awful. I feel drowsy all the time. I can't open my mouth properly. When I try to speak, my lips keep turning to one side. I feel so helpless. It is a prison of a different kind. It is like being imprisoned within your own body. I move around like a zombie, but they haven't killed my mind. I am still thinking. See, the medicine does something to you where you can't perform. You're like a zombie, but you're still thinking. Your mind is alive, and you still understand what other people are doing and what they are saying. Everything is there, but they try to kill it. It's a very killing effect. So I would prefer not to go in for any medication. But of course, depends on the stage you're in. In another story, the girl is suffering from PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress syndrome. So she has to go for psychotherapy. She has to go for sessions too, because it's a stage which she has reached, which cannot be just solved by storytelling or sharing your.
Roshmiti, we have
Yes.
Another technical question over here, again related to the art of storytelling. So we have Maheen here, who I know is also a theater practitioner. So what Maheen is asking is, we have Aristotle's theory of catharsis.
Yes, exactly.
And
Exactly.
from his works, Poetics, we get the concept of catharsis.
Right. That's what I
which is a
wanted to
lot
say.
about purgation and purification.
Yes.
So I just tell you what Maheen's question is, that in your stories, how much do you borrow, or if at all you do borrow, from what catharsis has to offer? In the literary structure, do you kind of, borrow from what catharsis or the main concept of catharsis
one
is?
of the cathartic methods. You see, the cathartic method was introduced by Joseph Breuer in 1877. And in his book, he wrote a book along with Freud and Breuer, Studies on Hysteria. He defines catharsis as the process of reducing or eliminating a complex by leading it to conscious awareness and allowing it to be expressed. This is exactly what I'm trying to say. This is what my storytelling, the theory involves. You have something which you have suppressed, you lead it to conscious awareness, bring it into see, we bury things it goes into the subconscious and we're not aware. But it internally, it creates conflicts and it erupts at a certain stage. So to prevent this, we try to bring this up into conscious awareness, and by allowing it to be expressed. That is what we are doing. Storytelling is, that is what I'm trying to say. You have something buried inside you and you're not able to tell it to anyone. This is the way you bring it out, and when you let it out, that is catharsis. That is the relief that he had said. He of course spoke about tragedy and about fear and terror. He said, we talk about tragedy, it relieves our fear and terror by watching the play. He spoke in context of plays. But that's where we get catharsis from, and this is exactly the concept I'm using.
In fact, early Greek
Absolutely.
tragedy was built on this very
Yes.
concept,
Exactly.
What I'd like our viewers to do is please understand that, we are really fortunate that Calcutta Club has given us this platform. And I'm glad that there is a chance to have this kind of interaction, this communication. Just in case there is anything that you are very curious to know from the author here this evening, anything that you want to express, please feel free. I can understand that sometimes we may not want to reveal our identity. We might have some hesitation to kind of ask certain questions, but because we have the author here and for the purpose that she is kind of, wanting to reach out, I think that purpose will only be served. It can become a two-way traffic only when we have this kind of communication and interaction. Since we have this Zoom platform, thanks to Calcutta Club, and the very fact that we are having this conversation, I would like us to make good use of it. And anything that so far you have been hearing our author here this evening, I hope you'll also get a chance to read her works. But more important than the author's works as a writer, it is the reason, the purpose that she has as a person that I hope gets served. And for that to be served, to be met, it really requires our collective association, and it requires a collective involvement. So maybe just have a bit more of that involvement. If you can kind of, just share your thoughts going by the conversations that we have been having so far, and any questions, queries that you might be having. We have Odipta once again asking you that what are the terms of, so maybe both of us can answer this. What are the terms of sociodrama and psychodrama? So this is also quite an interesting term that you have coined, the psychodrama element. I won't say that you've coined it, but it is there. So I'll tell you about my views, but first we'll get to hear from Roshmiri.
Yes, psychodrama is a form of psychotherapy in which patients act out events from their past and this provides them an opportunity to evaluate their own behavior. So this was started, the Jacob Marino, who started the Theater of Spontaneity in Vienna in the 1970s. It's about spontaneity and doing things. It's not scripted. This drama is not the drama that we know or the theater that we go and watch. This is what comes. It's like improvisation. We do improv theater also, isn't it? Now, TC, you tell about what you have done with psychodrama.
Okay, so I will never label or classify drama into any of these genre or category, but what I'd like to share with Maheen and all of us present here, we have the form of the theater of the absurd, the theater of the absurdists. Absurd theater or abstract theater is something that we can map a lot with psychology. I'll just give a little brief understanding that most of these playwrights, when we talk about what one will call psychodrama, we can't divorce thoughts with, like Samuel Beckett, Harold Pinter, Edward Albee. I will mention one of Edward Albee's plays, which I'm sure all of us have seen as a form of film, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, even if we have not read the script. Now, what happens with these plays, if we take Harold Pinter's The Birthday Party, Edward Albee's The Zoo Story, my favorite play, we will get to find a lot of psychological aspects that get reflected. And these psychological aspects, they are dramatized. The relationships that surface from these scripts might appear to be abstract because sometimes they bank a lot on silence. Now, Pinter got the Nobel for his contribution in English grammar. And what was that contribution? It was the art in which we use silence. So two people are conversing with each other. In the script, sometimes pause will be written in bracket, or silence will be written, or there'll be the ellipsis. About the ellipsis, the fun with ellipses always demand 3 dots. Sometimes, like we just go on with multiple dots, or just we end with 2 dots. Ellipses demand 3 dots, and each of these pauses, pause, silence, and ellipsis, they have a significant impact in the way that they are meant to be performed. Here, Pinter will also be so precise as a playwright that he'll not very easily give that flexibility to the actor. He'll also tell you the manner in which you're supposed to go up to the glass and drink water. We have Prabhaji doing just that right now. So, in fact, Pinter will even give you that direction, that how you're going to fill the vacuum that comes with silence. All these are reflection of the mind, the psyche, how a person is behaving under a particular circumstances and situation, how when the person is exposed to a particular situation. We find that very beautifully painted in the way Stanley's character is drafted, in the way Stanley's character is written in the play called The Birthday Party. Now, who is Goldberg? Who is McCann? No one has any idea. And Pinter is also very adamant. He'll tell you that I'm not going to give you any answer. Don't ask me. So many times, like viewers, audiences, readers, they have asked playwrights belonging to the absurd theater period that we want answers. Waiting for Godot, you will be surprised to know, was very popular when it was performed in prison. And earlier when it was performed, it did not receive that kind of appreciation and acceptance. But once it kind of got appreciated after a performance in the prison, then it kind of people woke up to Samuel Beckett. So, these kind of dynamics that we get to find when it reflects the human psyche, they perhaps what will constitute and what one can then recognize as psychodrama. When it comes to social drama, when it comes to anything social, that is a lot more inclusive. It is socio, political, economical, sometimes even climatic condition. Agatha Christie, according to me, in my very limited understanding, Agatha Christie is a major socio playwright. She comes up with social plays. If you talk about Mousetrap, there are these different characters coming in, and they come from a certain background, from a certain ethnicity. That gets reflected in their character sketch. Climatic condition, how London behaves. Climatic condition plays a very important and crucial role in Christie's plays. So that is what my take is when it comes to questions related to socio-drama or socio-theater or psychological theater. I personally do not like to classify. I go with a certain kind of mindset. I'll tell you, like when I attempt a play, I go with what is it that is inspiring me? What is it that I want to communicate? This medium for me is my medium of communication. What is it that I want to share my thoughts? Like for Roshmidi, stage is also a form of communication, is a medium of communication. So is her books. She communicates with the characters that she creates, with the stories that she creates in the form of her books. And yes, Mahin, you would like to kind of let me just see.
Before we run out of time, I'd like to again approach if there are anyone in the audience, any takers, I'd like someone to join my campaign, #telling my story. Okay, you can get in touch with me through email or contact through the library, Calcutta Club Library. They will get in touch with me. Please share, because I've started my second book. It's called Tales She Can Tell Book 2, and it's going to include all these stories. I've already got 5 stories, and now I want some more from you. So if you do, like I said, you don't want to reveal your identity, we think up names. That's how we do it. So please, I'd like some contributors.
You just answered Shoma ma'am, like she just kind of, Ms. Shoma Jha, who is here, she just had this question that what is your next work? and she's eagerly looking forward to your next work. So you have just answered her question. It is entirely up to Odipta. I'm not really sure if we can do this, but Odipta, do you think that we can ask the audience to share their views? We have Maheen here who is wanting to kind of, like express her views. So do you think that we can have the audience unmute themselves and share their perspective, their views on anything that we have been discussing? But if it is more convenient to kind of mention on the chat box, you're
I think I've given a prompt to Maheen, asking her to unmute. Just check if she can do it. Yeah, Maheen, you're audible.
Just in a few
words. Just in a few words. Am I audible?
Very much.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, Maheen, you're audible.
Okay, as simple as psychological rehabilitation. That is what psychodrama and social drama have done. They are contributions of psychology. Psychology has established them, and they are done, and they have been performed to help people. If people have anything troubling them from within, emotions or situations or incidents which have taken place in their lives, which are troubling them from within, to cleanse them. As to put it very simply, to cleanse them. As simple as that.
That's exactly what I meant when I said, the psychodrama is when you enact events that have happened to you and you want to get it out. The same as storytelling. What I'm trying to say in storytelling is you want to cleanse yourself by expressing what you have. You want to get it out there. That's what it means. And it's really, really, really helpful because I'm speaking from my own part, from my own experience.
If they had not acted and reacted in that way, maybe the story of their life would be completely different. So they are given an opportunity to re-script the story of their lives. That's it. Very simply put.
Maheen, what you have just shared with us, as I said earlier, that I do not like following any kind of rigidity and classifying, but there is this entire structure of theater called theater of cruelty. Now, theater of cruelty is not really going and bashing up somebody, but theater of cruelty is something that, like what we have been discussing, what Roshmiti has also been wanting to communicate. Theater of cruelty is again something that, like if you really feel very strongly about an experience that you want to share, then you kind of do it in such a manner that it demands that you break the fourth wall. And therefore, it becomes more of an intimate situation where it is audience and the actors, they both come together, they merge together, and they enact a certain kind of incident or a certain situation which has the impact which kind of, is something that they want to share with others. So if you can kind of get to know a bit about theater of cruelty, I think you will find that very fascinating. And actually, right now, I must tell you that in West Bengal, there is a theater practitioner who is working with prison inmates and kind of, she's coming up with very good productions. I remember Stagecraft is something like that. Rushmiti, do you remember?
Yes, exactly.
Mr. Kumra did something of a similar nature.
Tea House of the August Moon was the last production they did with the prisoners, the inmates, I won't say prisoners, of the Alipur jail. Yes. Correctional home, it's called. Yes. Absolutely. I think it's a great way. These are the kinds of therapy. It's used with spastic children. It's used in many ways. It's a great way of relieving what you have, bringing it out to the fore. There are so many types of therapy, but storytelling is more of a calm and a gentle one as compared to primal therapy, where they advocate screaming. You have to scream it out. Okay, so there are so many different therapies that are like these new age psychotherapy involves so many different ways. And then there was the cult therapy, where it became very harmful. In fact, the leaders, they manipulated them into doing things. So there's so many things, but what I'm advocating is very gentle, very non-harmful to anybody else, you know, and I advocate not going for drugs at all.
Roshni, how will people
Yes.
reach out to you? So
My
I'm glad that
email,
Odipta made it possible for all of us to assemble here, and we could kind of, like get to hear from you. But how is it going to be like from here? I'm sure there will be viewers who will want to connect with you, who will want to reach out to you. So how do you think that will be possible?
maybe my email, it's roshmiroy@rediffmail.com.
So I think you are also a host, and so will you just write that on the chat box? Will you type your email ID on the chat box for?
TC, I have already typed out her email and her websites on the chat box.
Okay.
Okay,
I've
okay,
already done that. Yeah.
wonderful.
You can
Thank
repeat
you.
it.
Yes,
I'm
but
sorry I missed that.
sorry, if you've done the websites, actually they are concerned with my soft skills, and so it won't be
Okay.
connected
Yeah,
to
but-
my story writing.
Roshni
But
ji,
you're welcome to.
yeah, email
yes.
is also there.
Email is
I've
there.
typed.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I've
this
done
is the story writing has come up, like I told you, during the pandemic and the lockdown. This is what came to me, this thought that this is what we can do, and share with each other, and to break down this barrier. We were all very isolated, and the sharing is it's a way of connecting. It's very human. So
Mahina,
before
I mean,
we
sorry.
run out, 1 minute, before we run out of time, I just like to say thank you very much to the chairman of the Library and Heritage Subcommittee, Mr. Adib Guptu, for giving me this chance of talking about my project and of connecting with the Calcutta Club audience. And of course, thank you, TC.
Thank you so much. The pleasure's mine entirely. Mahin, to answer your last question about recordings, I'm sure like many of us would like to access that. I am in no authority to talk about it. Odipta is here. Maybe he perhaps be able to throw some light on it. We have Prabhatji with us from Calcutta Club. Prabhatji, I guess you would like to share some views of yours, and it's over to you now. Thank you so much, everyone, for this wonderful opportunity to interact with all of you. And thank you, Roshmidi. Thank you, Odipta, for considering me for this evening.
And I'm so happy that I've learned a lot today about this therapy, which I was not aware actually, We always thought of psychiatrists, psychologists, and mental treatment. So today is the first day that I've learned this storytelling will also improve our mental health, and we will be benefited by this. So I think this word has to be spread actually, that's very important. So we need to spread this word among the members and whoever is suffering during this pandemic. It's not pandemic, there are many such circumstances in our life where we are not able to tell our truth because of social stigma actually, When you share something, some people make it a big issue actually, So that is genuinely going to help people. So I would like to thank Dr. Rosmi Roy and Tathagata Chaudhary ji for your wonderful presentation and enriching our knowledge. I would also like to thank President Calcutta Club and IT Committee for providing the virtual platform to all of us. I would like to thank systems team, Mr. Devashish Nath, event team, KG Rao, librarian, Ms. Piali Gwyn, library subcommittee members, and Infinitus for creative inputs. And I would like to thank Chairman Subcommittee Library for giving me this opportunity to enrich my knowledge and spend some time with you all. Thank you so much. Today's recording will be available in Calcutta Club's YouTube channel. So any member who has not been able to attend should go and watch this channel, which we will try to convey to them. I would like to request the systems team to stop recording and we end the session now because the time is up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
TC.
you.
Thank you, Roshmiri. Thank you, Prabhatji.
Thank you, Roshni.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, sir.